On a day that holds both promise and foreboding, Eun Gee is in determined pursuit of a zombie, desperate to secure a clear shot at its head to put an end to the threat. Suddenly, the creature comes to an abrupt stop, urging Eun Gee to refocus her aim for a precise kill. A well-aimed shot is all that stands between her and safety. But then, to her alarm, the zombie begins to pivot towards her. She squeezes the trigger, but her shot goes wide. In a heartbeat, the zombie surges towards her, and self-doubt grips Eun Gee. She can't fathom what is going awry. All she needs is one more shot, and the danger will dissipate. Yet she finds herself immobilized, lacking the resolve to face the advancing menace, which continues its unrelenting charge. The creature draws ever closer, leaping towards Eun Gee in a menacing strike. However, in a surprising twist, Shuhei arrives just in the nick of time. With a swift mid-air kick, he sends the zombie sprawling, saving Eun Gee from imminent peril. She is left awestruck by his swift and effective intervention. Stepping towards Eun Gee, Shuhei explains that zombies are drawn to loud noises and advises her to try evading them next time rather than freezing in place. He goes on to acknowledge that he is aware Eun Gee had intentionally missed her earlier shot. In response, Eun Gee voices her concerns about the possibility that the zombies might not be truly deceased. Shuhei dismisses this notion, stating that if the zombies possessed such awareness, they would have chosen to end their own existence as well. Together, Shuhei and Eun Gee raise the gun and put an end to the zombie's existence. Amidst the intensity of the moment, Eun Gee confides in Shuhei about a troubling dream she's had, one in which her sister falls victim to infection. She raises the unsettling possibility that her dream might be a grim reality. Shuhei, with his compassionate nature, does his best to console and support Eun Gee during this distressing time. He patiently listens as Eun Gee opens up further, admitting that she feels responsible for their predicament. She acknowledges her perceived failing of leaving her siblings behind and expresses a profound sense of guilt, seeing herself as the true monster in this situation. To help Eun Gee overcome her emotional struggle and leverage her newfound insights about zombies to adapt her tactics, please subscribe and hit the like button as an extra precaution. In a poignant flashback, young Eun Gee watches from the window as her mother departs with another man. Her calls for her father go unanswered, leaving her with the sense that he had known of her mother's departure beforehand. After that day, her father never broaches the subject of her mother, and they carefully skirt around any mention of her actions. At an incredibly tender age, Eun Gee is compelled to acquire vital survival skills, learning a multitude of household tasks to assist her father to the best of her ability. As time marches on, her father's health deteriorates to the point where he is confined to his bed. Eun Gee remains steadfastly by his side, taking on the role of caretaker and tending to him through his illness. One fateful day, Eun Gee receives a letter bearing the heart-wrenching news of her mother's passing. The sorrowful revelation affects her deeply and tragically. The following day, her father learns of her mother's death and decides to end his own life. Eun Gee is left orphaned and profoundly bereaved. Following their funerals, child welfare social workers step in and take Eun Gee to the first district. There, they introduce her to her step-siblings and express the hope for her to care for them. Eun Gee shoulders this newfound responsibility, and for a year, she conscientiously looks after her step-siblings, taking on the mantle of their guardian during this trying period. Despite her best efforts, Eun Gee finds it nearly impossible to form an attachment to her step-siblings, as they often trigger painful recollections of her mother. She grapples with the injustice of enduring so many traumatic events at such a young age, leading her to perceive herself as deeply flawed. Eun Gee confides in Shuhei about these internal struggles, fearing that he may distance himself from her once he regains his memories. However, to her surprise, Shuhei informs Eun Gee that they will be leaving the next day to return to the shelter and report to Ishtar. This revelation catches Eun Gee off guard, as she had feared Shuhei might abandon her, but instead, he reaffirms their partnership and their shared dedication to their mission. Eun Gee's joy is palpable, as she realizes that Shuhei is still wholeheartedly committed to assisting her. Moreover, he imparts invaluable advice to Eun Gee, suggesting that when they rescue her step-siblings, she should seek reconciliation with them and ensure they don't endure the same hardships she did. Armed with newfound determination, Eun Gee and Shuhei press on in their journey together. What's the secret behind Ishtar and Shuhei's abilities? How will it shape Eun Gee's journey? Leave your thoughts in the comments. As they approach the shelter, Eun Gee notices Ishtar waiting for her at the gate, which fills her with fear. Eun Gee quickly apologizes to Ishtar and attempts to return the gun she had borrowed. To her surprise, Ishtar doesn't take the gun back. Instead, she tells Eun Gee to keep it, emphasizing that she will need it for protection during her journey to the First District. To Eun Gee's relief, Ishtar doesn't object to her plan to rescue and reunite with her step-siblings, even though Eun Gee feels guilty about leaving them behind. Ishtar goes on to assure Eun Gee that she will provide her with ammunition, supplies, and food before her departure. Despite Eun Gee's modest protests, Ishtar insists on helping her prepare for the journey. Ishtar also assures Eun Gee that she can rest easy, knowing that Shuhei will be accompanying her on the journey. Additionally, Ishtar extends an invitation to Eun Gee to join her for dinner at her unit in Building A, to which Eun Gee agrees. However, Ishtar and Shuhei's reactions to Eun Gee's dinner invitation appear to be somewhat cryptic, causing Eun Gee to feel apprehensive. This prompts Chrysla, the shelter's doctor, to intervene. Chrysla expresses her desire to conduct another checkup on Eun Gee and raises concerns about Eun Gee potentially exposing herself to the virus. Further discussions between Chrysla and Ishtar revolve around Eun Gee's unusual condition. Despite having been comatose, Eun Gee and Shuhei exhibit no signs of wounds or injuries, leading to the conclusion that they possess accelerated healing abilities. During their dinner, Eun Gee notices that something is amiss with Ishtar. She becomes increasingly aware of a strange atmosphere around her. As they converse, Eun Gee recalls her earlier conversation with Shuhei about whether she should accept Ishtar's dinner invitation. Shuhei had wisely advised Eun Gee to make her own decision. Eun Gee's curiosity gets the better of her, and she inquires to Ishtar about what happened to her hand. She is astonished to learn that Shuhei was responsible for cutting off Ishtar's hand, although he has no recollection of the event. Ishtar, in a moment of vulnerability, begins to open up to Eun Gee. She confides in Eun Gee and reveals her intention to explain what transpired in the First District when they first encountered Shuhei. It's a pivotal moment where Ishtar is willing to share her past experiences and the circumstances surrounding Shuhei, shedding light on a mysterious and possibly traumatic chapter in their lives. An unforeseen announcement reverberates through the First District, jolting its residents as it is placed under lockdown due to the emergence of an unfamiliar virus spreading in the main city. The citizens are taken aback by this abrupt decision, and soldiers promptly establish blockades, barring anyone from leaving the district to prevent potential infections. Ishtar is revealed to be the captain of her squad, entrusted with the responsibility of maintaining the barricades. The situation escalates as a tumult ensues among the people, clamoring to be set free. Surveying the chaos, Ishtar turns to her commanding officer Leiden, seeking an explanation for the lockdown. Leiden, in turn, clarifies that the directive to seal off the First District originates from higher authorities who are determined to contain the disease within the district's confines. Chaos erupts as infected individuals surge towards the crowd, plunging the district into turmoil in a matter of moments. Amidst the pandemonium, Leiden instructs his soldiers to ensure nobody leaves the district. Yet against all odds, a woman manages to elude the district, with a zombie in relentless pursuit. In a grim turn of events, the pursuing zombie reaches the woman and inflicts a bite. Without hesitation, Ishtar takes aim and dispatches the zombie. Tragically, Leiden swiftly dispatches the infected woman as well, explaining that she would soon transform into one of the infected and pose a threat to others. With the situation deteriorating rapidly, Leiden orders his remaining soldiers to move to other districts and evacuate civilians from there. However, in an unexpected twist, Ishtar levels her gun at Leiden, demanding that he rescind his orders. Tensions escalate as Ishtar challenges Leiden's authority, setting the stage for a potential showdown. In a tense standoff, Leiden takes a drastic step and relieves Ishtar of her military duties, leaving her behind in the district to face the infected and potentially meet a heroic end. As Ishtar grapples with her sudden isolation, she begins to realize the grim truth. Leiden's decision to block off the district was indeed justified. The woman shot earlier by Leiden, who had turned into an infected, rises to her feet, confirming Ishtar's suspicions. Amidst the chaos, a soldier approaches Ishtar with a message from an unknown sender, directing her attention to a new development. Meanwhile, in a separate scene, Squad 6 receives an urgent order to prepare for battle. setting the stage for what promises to be a challenging and perilous confrontation with the infected. Ishtar and her squad cautiously advance toward the sewage, with Ishtar realizing that the most effective way to eliminate the infected is by aiming for their heads. She imparts this knowledge to Dexter, a member of her squad, as they make their way through the dangerous territory. Ishtar also discloses to Dexter that Dr. Kristla, the division's surgeon, is aligned with their cause. With stealth as their ally, Ishtar instructs her team to silently approach the sewage, armed with knives and handguns. She emphasizes the importance of dispatching any infected individuals they encounter along their path. As they draw nearer to the sewage, an unexpected development unfolds. A unique type of infected, capable of speech, emerges and fatally attacks Dexter. This newly encountered threat then positions itself in front of Ishtar and her remaining squad members, effectively blocking their path to the sewage and creating a perilous standoff. Ishtar's rage boils over as she and her squad members open fire on the zombie responsible for killing Dexter. To their astonishment, the zombie not only withstands the onslaught, but also rapidly regenerates from its wounds. In a desperate move, the zombie charges at Ishtar, biting her hand. Just in the nick of time, Shuhei arrives on the scene and, to prevent the virus from spreading, severs Ishtar's infected arm. Shuhei then efficiently takes on the self-healing zombie, slicing it in half, which leaves Ishtar and her squad members in a state of shock. Ishtar begins to question whether Shuhei is truly on their side, but her squad members rally to her aid, attempting to stem the bleeding and tend to her injuries. The encounter with the seemingly indestructible zombie has left them all shaken and uncertain about what lies ahead. Concerned for Ishtar's well-being, one of her squad members inquires if the virus has infiltrated her system. Shuhei reassures them, explaining that he acted swiftly by severing the bitten part before the virus could take hold. Ishtar, still puzzled by Shuhei's identity, directs her attention to him, seeking answers. However, before she can receive a response, Shuhei collapses and loses consciousness. Ishtar is left pondering the extraordinary capabilities of the individuals she has encountered, marked by their immense strength and speed. Resolving to uncover more about these mysterious individuals, and perhaps find a way to assist Shuhei, Ishtar makes the decision to bring him along with her. With many questions unanswered and uncertainty looming, she prepares to embark on a new chapter in her journey, accompanied by these enigmatic allies. Upon their return to the shelter, Dr. Kristla, who had been anxiously awaiting Ishtar's arrival, immediately notices Ishtar's injured hand. Concerned, Kristla questions Ishtar about the bite on her hand. Furthermore, Kristla inquires Ishtar and her squad members about the person they've brought with them, named Shuhei. As she tends to their injuries, Kristla engages Ishtar in conversation, wanting to know the details of what transpired. She raises the crucial question of whether Shuhei is infected. In response, Ishtar clarifies that Shuhei is not only alive, but also capable of rational thought, despite being infected. The situation presents a complex and puzzling scenario for the doctor, leaving them with many questions about the nature of the infection and Shuhei's unique condition. Shuhei awakens and immediately seizes Dr. Kristla's neck, demanding to know who brought him to the shelter. Ishtar intervenes to defuse the situation, reassuring Shuhei that they are allies. However, Shuhei reveals that he has lost his memories, leaving them with yet another mystery to unravel. As they gather information, they begin to piece together a theory that suggests the government may have played a role in the outbreak. Shuhei, driven by a desire to uncover the truth, volunteers to investigate further. However, as days pass, he becomes increasingly hesitant and weary, and Shuhei grapples with the possibility that he could be manipulated into becoming their enemy, especially since he knows the location of Ishtar and her squad's hiding place, making him a potential threat to their survival. The complex web of alliances and allegiances adds a layer of tension to their already perilous situation, and upon Eun Gee's arrival, a surprising change occurs within Shuhei as he willingly agrees to return to the First District. Ishtar, however, warns Eun Gee that even if Shuhei regains his lost memories, it won't alter his determination. Ishtar entrusts Eun Gee with a crucial task, to extract as much information as possible from Shuhei and aid in the recovery of his memories. Eun Gee confidently assures Ishtar that she will complete this mission successfully, ensuring both her and Shuhei's safe return. Furthermore, Eun Gee also requests assistance from Ishtar, asking her to send others to aid in their escape, and after this request is made, Eun Gee departs on her mission. Meanwhile, Ishtar quietly murmurs her faith in Eun Gee's abilities, and her belief that Eun Gee will indeed accomplish the task and achieve success, despite the challenging circumstances that lie ahead. In another scene, Shuhei is meticulously cleaning his boots, and his sword is next in line for maintenance. However, when Eun Gee arrives and reaches for Shuhei's sword to clean it, he reacts swiftly and takes the sword back, concerned that Eun Gee might accidentally harm herself. He scolds her for attempting to clean the blade. Eun Gee, taken aback by Shuhei's sudden outburst, tells him that he's being overly protective. Their conversation takes an introspective turn as Shuhei grapples with inner conflicts. When Eun Gee probes deeper, Shuhei suggests that she shouldn't dwell excessively on what Ishtar has disclosed. Moreover, Shuhei hints at personal matters he might be reluctant to discuss. Furthermore, Shuhei offers reassurance to Eun Gee, vowing never to betray her, and moreover, he also makes a solemn promise that if he ever feels he's losing control or becoming a threat to others, he will take the responsibility of ending his own life. This conversation underscores the complexity of their relationship and the weight of their shared experiences in a post-apocalyptic world. However, Eun Gee strongly objects to this idea, urging Shuhei never to consider ending his life under any circumstances. She assures him that they will enter and leave any situation together, emphasizing their mutual support and commitment to one another. These words seem to uplift Shuhei's spirits somewhat. Later, Shuhei is awakened by Eun Gee's sleep-talking. He decides to carry her to her room. Eun Gee continues to talk in her sleep, mentioning her step-siblings and expressing her determination to reunite with them. Her words reflect her deep longing to rescue and protect her family, a mission she's determined to accomplish with Shuhei by her side. As Shuhei carries Eun Gee back to her room, he suddenly feels an itch and decides to address it, causing Eun Gee to slip off his back. However, with lightning-fast reflexes, Shuhei manages to catch her in midair. He places his thigh beneath her, cradling her gently in his arms to prevent her from falling. In her sleep, Eun Gee encounters a mysterious man whom she thanks. As Shuhei holds her in his arms, Eun Gee continues to talk in her sleep, expressing gratitude towards the person from her dream. She asks the man who he is, unaware that she's actually speaking to Shuhei, who is holding her protectively. This moment highlights the growing connection and trust between Eun Gee and Shuhei as they navigate their challenging journey together. On the first day of their journey, Eun Gee enters the room where Shuhei is waiting anxiously. His eyes immediately notice the change. Eun Gee has cut her hair short. Shuhei comments on her new appearance, and Eun Gee explains her decision. She had long hair that reminded her of her mother, and she didn't want her step-siblings to be reminded of their mother when they first saw her. That's why she chose to cut her hair short. Shuhei appreciates Eun Gee's explanation about her haircut and comments that the new look suits her. With that matter settled, they embark on their journey towards the first district, marking a significant day in their lives. As they traverse through the shelter, they bid farewell to the refugees who have been their companions in this safe haven. Leaving behind the relative security of the shelter, they prepare to confront the uncertainties and challenges of the outside world. Eun Gee takes a moment to express her gratitude to everyone in the shelter for their kindness and support during her time there. She knows that they've all been through challenging times together, and she wants to make sure they know how thankful she is. Ishtar, recognizing the urgency of Shuhei and Eun Gee's mission, advises them to leave as soon as possible. She estimates that it will take them 3-4 days to reach their destination, emphasizing the need to take the fastest route. Ishtar spends some time instructing them on the journey ahead before they set off. In another scene in District 10, a young boy named Phil is running when he accidentally kicks a tin can on the ground, creating a loud noise. This noise attracts the attention of nearby zombies, putting Phil in a perilous situation. The zombies are now alerted to his presence, and he'll need to find a way to escape to avoid being attacked by the infected creatures. As the caretaker lady inquires to the children about Phil's whereabouts, the other children decide to remain silent, unsure of his location. Frustrated and concerned, the lady instructs the children to pray for Phil's safety and imposes a strict rule that they cannot have dinner until Phil returns, or someone provides information about his whereabouts. This decision does not sit well with the hungry and anxious children, but the caretaker lady insists that it is a form of punishment they must endure, emphasizing the importance of finding Phil and ensuring his safety before allowing them to eat. Eun Gee spots the approaching zombies and immediately rushes to help Phil, the young boy in danger. She takes quick action, shooting at a nearby car to trigger its alarm, diverting the zombies' attention away from Phil. Eun Gee swiftly moves to rescue the boy, pulling him to safety just before the car's alarm stops. Once they reach a secure location, Eun Gee kindly asks the boy for his name, and he introduces himself as Philip. Eun Gee continues to inquire about Philip's home and the reason he was alone in such a perilous place. Concerned for his safety, she offers to guide him back to his residence. However, their moment of relief is interrupted when Shuhei arrives, scolding Eun Gee for drawing too much attention to their hiding spot. Eun Gee's determination to save Philip from the infected is evident as she immediately begins explaining her intent to Shuhei. She points out Philip, who is in the process of fleeing from their location. Shuhei intervenes, preventing Eun Gee from pursuing Philip, and he advises her to let him go. Initially, Eun Gee refuses to back down, convinced that they should help the boy. Through persuasion and persistence, Eun Gee manages to sway Shuhei's stance, and he agrees to assist her in searching for Philip. Together, they embark on a thorough search of the city, covering nearly every corner. Despite their efforts, they find no trace of Philip, and their search comes to a frustrating halt. However, Eun Gee's keen eyes spot an abandoned school nearby, and she observes Philip sneaking into the building. This discovery prompts Eun Gee and Shuhei to decide to investigate the abandoned school for themselves, driven by curiosity and their shared concern for the boy. As they enter the school, Eun Gee and Shuhei discover that the infected have not infiltrated this place. They proceed to investigate a room inside the school, where they come to realize that someone has been living there. Eun Gee stumbles upon a board filled with extensive research on the virus, dating back to before its outbreak. She believes that the occupant of this room might possess vital knowledge about the virus and expresses her desire to meet them. However, their exploration takes an unforeseen turn when Shuhei accidentally steps on a weakened section of the floor. The aged floorboards give way beneath him, causing Shuhei to plummet into a lower level of the building. This sudden mishap leaves Eun Gee anxious, unsure of what awaits Shuhei in the darkness below. As Shuhei falls into the basement, Eun Gee anxiously checks on his well-being. Shuhei reassures her that he's unharmed, but Eun Gee blames herself for the accident. Shuhei advises her to find a hiding spot and remain vigilant while he attempts to find a way back up. Meanwhile, a large group of infected begins to converge on the abandoned school. Eun Gee ponders what could have attracted them, considering that Shuhei's fall wasn't particularly loud. She notices the frontmost infected and discerns that it's an unusual one, seemingly responsible for luring the others with the noise. This revelation adds a layer of mystery to their situation. As the infected begin to infiltrate the building, Eun Gee realizes that she needs to find a way out. She quickly surveys the room and spots a back door that could serve as her escape route. Eun Gee, determined to avoid being captured by the oddly infected creature, sprints ahead, her mind fixed on reaching the back door. She plans to confront the infected on her own terms outside. However, as she descends the stairs, her haste leads to a momentary lapse in her stealth, resulting in a noise that attracts the attention of the infected. The oddly infected one, in particular, senses her presence and begins to pursue her relentlessly, increasing the urgency of her escape and heightening the danger she faces. Determined to escape the clutches of the oddly infected one, Eun Gee sprints down the stairs, her mind set on leading the creature outside where she can deal with it on her own terms. She's confident in her plan until, in her haste, she makes a noise that attracts the oddly infected one's attention. Just as the infected is about to close in on her, a mysterious man intervenes. He swiftly places a hand over Eun Gee's mouth to prevent her from making any noise that could alert more infected. Surprised to encounter a woman in such a dangerous place, the man reassures Eun Gee that he means her no harm. He advises her to stay quiet, emphasizing the need for stealth in their current predicament. Meanwhile, Shuhei, still in search of a way back up, hears an unexpected banging sound from above. Panic courses through him as he worries about Eun Gee's safety. His heart pounding, he screams out her name in sheer anguish, fearing the worst and hoping for any sign of her well-being. The tension mounts as the fate of Eun Gee remains uncertain. The sense of urgency intensifies as Shuhei quickens his search for a way back up to the upper floors. Meanwhile, in the basement, Philip, the young boy, hides himself upon hearing noises. Unfortunately, he accidentally stumbles and falls in front of Shuhei, who then asks Philip if he knows the way out. On the other hand, the man who had been holding Eun Gee in hiding waits patiently for the oddly infected one to position itself. In a swift and precise move, he takes a shot that eliminates the creature. Afterward, he releases his grip on Eun Gee and informs her that these particular infected can be killed, just like the normal ones, offering her some valuable insight on dealing with them. Eun Gee, still cautious and untrusting of the man, quickly draws her gun and demands that he raise his hands where she can see them. The man, however, remains composed and calmly requests that Eun Gee lower her weapon, assuring her that he means her no harm and that he is not her enemy. He reveals that he is a soldier and that his actions were meant to save her life. Eun Gee, however, remains on edge and accuses the man of threatening her. It appears she misunderstood his warning earlier when he told her to keep her mouth shut, as he was trying to prevent the infected from being attracted to the noise, not implying a threat to her life. Eun Gee questions the man further, asking if he set up the traps in the room, but he denies any involvement. The soldier elaborates on how he had come across a group of infected, including the oddly infected one, and had been tailing them, which eventually led him to the same abandoned school where Eun Gee and Shuhei were. Despite the tense situation, another infected appears in the background, but the soldier swiftly dispatches it with his quick reflexes, raising questions in Eun Gee's mind about his true intentions. She wonders why he hasn't taken advantage of the situation to disarm her and take control of her weapon. Upon learning that Eun Gee is headed to the 1st District, the soldier takes a surprising turn. He reaches out and holds her hand, expressing his willingness to accompany her. Their encounter takes another unexpected twist as Shuhei arrives at the scene and draws his sword, pointed threateningly at the soldier's neck. Shuhei gives the soldier a mere 3 seconds to release Eun Gee from his grasp. The soldier is caught off guard by Shuhei's sudden appearance, unable to sense him approaching despite his heightened awareness of the infected at a distance. Shuhei maintains his warning to the soldier, and under this pressure, the soldier releases Eun Gee. In an attempt to explain his actions, the soldier reassures Shuhei that he has no intentions of harming or abducting Eun Gee. He insists that he only wants to help her. However, when Shuhei calls for Eun Gee to come to him, the soldier once again grasps her hand, advising her not to go with Shuhei. He claims that Shuhei is infected. The soldier, his brows furrowed with suspicion, interrogates Eun Gee about her peculiar choice of travel companion, an infected individual. Eun Gee, her voice trembling, desperately attempts to shed light on the complex situation, explaining that appearances can be deceiving, and there's more to their journey than meets the eye. Meanwhile, Shuhei, wearing an infuriating smirk, brashly advises the soldier to focus on his own affairs and stay out of theirs. Eun Gee, her tone urgent, underscores the imminent danger Shuhei poses, cautioning the soldier that Shuhei wouldn't think twice about causing harm if he persisted in trying to pry Eun Gee away from his grasp. The tension in the air thickens as the soldier grapples with this unsettling revelation. The soldier inquires whether Shuhei is using threats to compel Eun Gee to remain by his side. Additionally, the soldier questions why Eun Gee places more faith in Shuhei, especially considering that they both played a role in saving her life. After some time, Eun Gee and Shuhei resume their journey, but Shuhei abruptly stops and reprimands Eun Gee for what he perceives as her gullibility in readily trusting people. Furthermore, Shuhei emphasizes that Eun Gee must remain with him until their agreement is fulfilled, warning that he will eliminate anyone who attempts to separate them. Eun Gee's patience with Shuhei finally reaches its breaking point, and her emotions erupt in a furious outburst. She demands that Shuhei stop treating her as if she is some mere property. With raw honesty, Eun Gee tells Shuhei that his intimidating manner of speaking scares her often. In the midst of their heated exchange, Eun Gee's attention is suddenly drawn to the fact that Shuhei has located and brought along the child, Phil. Meanwhile, Shuhei, still reeling from Eun Gee's recent outburst, finds himself holding his head in frustration, a turbulent mixture of emotions surging within him. The tension between Eun Gee, Shuhei, and the mysterious soldier reaches its peak. Trust is shattered, and allegiances are questioned. What lies in store for this unlikely trio? Will they find common ground or spiral further into conflict? The The answers are just around the corner. Don't miss the next episode for the electrifying conclusion and more shocking revelations. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss it.